Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. Today's lesson is about how to write narrative-friendly letters. These are letters written to a friend to describe a series of events in the recent past. Before looking in detail at how to write a narrative-friendly letter, let's consider the three types of situation that involve the narrative-friendly letter. Type number one, write a letter to a friend about something that could happen to you in everyday life, which may be exciting but has no serious consequences or results. For example, you get stuck in a lift, you invite your friends out for coffee, but when the bill comes, you find you have left your money at home. You lock yourself out of your flat or house. You get caught in a thunderstorm. You meet a famous person in a restaurant. You forgot your lines during the performance of the school play. A fire breaks out at your school. There is a robbery at your local shop while you are there. This is the first type. By the way, the story you write about doesn't need to be true, and you should use your imagination to make the narrative interesting. However, there are 2 points to be aware of. Number one, don't be over dramatic when you write, or the story will not sound convincing, as I mentioned before. And don't make yourself into a hero. In other words, don't refer to your photo being in the newspaper, or you are appearing on the television, receiving money in meeting, or shaking hands with the mayor as a result of a heroic action. Because you are a normal person and you are writing to a normal friend. So you don't have to show yourself like a hero. Type number two. Type number two, when you write a letter to a friend about something you have done that is daring, unusual, or not what your friend would expect you to do. For example, you want skydiving, parachute jumping, for a hot air balloon ride. You want scuba diving. You want horse riding. You took part in a school play or concert. Now we need to move to type number three. The third type is when you write to a friend about your happiest or proudest moment in your life. The most effective kind of letter will be about a simple personal achievement. For example, you won a scholarship to a well known school or a college. You met a member of your family for the first time. A teacher who's always tough on you said something complimentary about a piece of your work or gave you a good mark for a piece of your work. You lost enough weight to fit into your favorite class. You won a competition. Now, let's see what we should include in a narrative letter. Narrative writing contains certain features, and you should remember to do the following. Number one, write chronologically. In other words, write about the events in the same order they actually happen, including a definite beginning, climax, and a definite conclusion or ending. Number two, set the scene. Number three, include the time sequence phrases, include connectors, include feelings and how they change during the narrative. But before we start, I want you to always remember to create interest, personalize, support, avoid listing. And actually, this is more difficult to do in a narrative than in a descriptive letter, but we can work this together and make everything clear. Let's start with the introduction. Actually, when you write, you just need to write a short introduction because it always allows your words to tell the story. So now let's start to see how these features are included in a basic plan for the introduction. And what I want you to remember is that you are keen to tell your friend about all the incident because you think he will find it interesting or exciting. So you will not want to waste your time on a long introduction. Obviously, you will contact your friend as soon as you can after the incident happened. So make sure you are not writing about something that happened 3 weeks or 2 years ago. And the main purpose of the introduction here is to create interest in the story you are going to relate to your friend. So you need to use some suitable introduction phrases for the narrative letter, which could include something like, I can't wait to tell you about, I'm dying to tell you about, wait until you hear about or who or what happened to. Also, you can write, you won't believe, you will never believe, you will never guess what happened to me or who or how. And don't forget to say when the incident happened, this morning, this afternoon, just now, a few minutes ago. Because as I mentioned before, you just need to tell your friend about something that happened as soon as you can. And you do not tell your friend about something that happened a week ago or a month ago, for example. It's just happened right now. Let's go for the body. For the body, and before you start, you need to set the scene. Begin this part of the letter by describing what was happening before and leading to the main event. And a good way to do this is by answering some of the following WH questions, like who were you with? What were you doing? Where were you? When were you there? Why were you there? By answering these questions, you will be able to set your scene effectively. For example, I was walking home from school with Sarah on Tuesday. Another example, my mother and I have been in the city center looking for a birthday present for that. And note that the scene you are describing should be routine or ordinary, as this will provide a contrast with the main event and make the story very interesting. Something like this. We were chatting about what we had for homework, or what we were going to do at the weekend, or we were chatting about the party. Something which is ordinary, something which is usual. Also, you can add something like we were listening to the radio, I was waiting for the bus, I was looking out for my window. And if you remember, I told you you need to use time sequence phrases. So as you develop the story, try to introduce a selection of time sequence phrases. Why? In order to give chronologically. And there are many of these phrases including the following. We'd only just sat down at our desk when the fire alarm went off. The minute I walked into the room, I noticed something strange. We were just about to catch the bus when there was a defending noise. Just as we were about to catch the bus, there was a defending noise. As I opened the door, I heard the scream. As he was running away, WP called the police. Also, you can use before plus active verb, but not the ing form of the verb, because using ing form of the verb after before, it's a formal register, and we are writing informally. Like before I shut the door, I checked I had my keys. After what seemed like ages, the lift door opened. In the morning, afternoon, evening, all afternoon, night. By this time, in the end, for the first time in my life, it only took a moment, about hours later, within no time. And please avoid using common phrases like firstly, then, after that, or next. These sound like a mechanical sequence rather than a real life experience. Okay. Include connectors. The use of connectors such as and, but, until, and although links short sentences together and helps the story flow. Also, remember to include feelings. Another feature of narrative writing is to describe your feelings at each stage of the event. There could be as many as 3 different stages, each marked by different feelings. Like at the beginning, I was relaxed, not expecting anything to happen. For the climax, excited, frightened, amazed, depending on what your story is about. And by the end, I was relieved when the incident is all over. Something like this. I'll give you some examples for this. And this is a very simple and effective way to describe your feelings. I was, or we were, disappointed, horrified, surprised, delighted, amazed, curious to learn, realize, see, find, discover, hear, that. So you can vary using these adjectives that describe your feelings. One more thing that you need to include in your narrative letter is to include personalizing and supportive phrases. Personalizing in narrative letters is not easy. How can you find a way to include your friend in incident that happened when he wasn't there? You need to express your friend's knowledge of your character. What you would do, how you would react in certain situations, and when your views are on certain topic. Here are some examples. You know how frightened I am of verb ing, being alone, or hide. I don't need to tell you how excited I was. As you can imagine, I was terrified. As you know, I can't stand heights. Or as you know me, I always panic in emergencies. There is another way to personalize, is to involve your friend in the event by refer to your friend's characteristics or abilities, likes and dislikes. This will be especially effective if there are in contrast of yours, and it will create interest. Look at these examples. I wish you'd been there. If only you'd been there. Why do you wish your friend had been there? This is requires support. You would have known what to do, or you would have kept a cool head. If it was a good experience, something you were pleased with or proud of, for example, and would have liked to share with your friends, you can write, it was a shame, it was a pity, or it's a pity you weren't there. If, on the other hand, it was a bad or unpleasant experience and you are glad your friend didn't share with you, you can write, it's a good thing, or it's a good job you weren't there. And remember to add a support every time. There is another way to personalize is to try to put your friend in the same situation. Like, I wonder what you would have done. Now it's the last step here, which is concluding a narrative letter. As with the introduction, the conclusion will need to be very brief. Firstly, because of the number of the words needed to tell the story. And secondly, because you are in a hurry to tell everyone else about what's happened. So you can write something like this. Well, I must dash now. I have got to tell Sam about it. Or, well, I must go now. I want to call Sarah and tell her the news. I think it was probably one of the happiest moments I can ever remember. Okay? I hope you will find this very valuable and useful for you. And now I have to say bye bye.